We'll discuss Halacha, which is related to Yamim Tovim, Yom Tov, about showering on Yom Tov. Can you shower on Yom Tov? Thankfully this year, the Yamim Tovim are swallowed in the Shabbat as well, so therefore it's out of the question, or on Shabbat, you cannot shower in warm water on Shabbat. There is something which the Chachamim bring in the Talmud, which is called Gezerat Merchatzaot, meaning the Chachamim stopped and banned the Jewish people from using hot water to bath themselves on Shabbat. Even if it's pre-warmed, it's warmed from before Shabbat, you still can't bath yourself with warm water on Shabbat. So therefore, having warm showers on Shabbat, even in a permissible way, is forbidden because of this gezerah of merchatzaot. The question is, on Yom Tov, some people feel after a day of Yom Tov and Shabbat, second day, they want to shower, they want to cool off a little bit, clean themselves. Can they shower on Yom Tov or can't they shower on Yom Tov? So, let's first begin with the Mishnah. The Mishnah in Beitzah brings a machloket between Bet Shammai and Bet Hillel. Halacha is like Bet Hillel. One is only allowed to warm water on Yom Tov to wash his hands, and not only his hands and feet and face, but not the rest of the body. Meaning, to heat up water involves cooking. Cooking is one of the melachot, which is only permissible on Yom Tov when it's for a purpose of ochel nefesh, a necessity which is needed on Yom Tov. And therefore, since cooking you are allowed to if you need it on Yom Tov for eating purposes, so we might have thought that you'd be able to heat up water to bath yourself as well. The halacha is, the Mishnah says, and there's no argument about it, that Bet Hillel hold to heat up water on Yom Tov for the purpose of bathing yourself is forbidden on Yom Tov. And the reason for that, there's a discussion amongst the halachic authorities between the Rambam, between the Tosafot, between the Rosh, and we'll explain what the argument is, and we'll conclude what the halacha is. There's some who hold that the reason why you mustn't heat up water cook water on Yom Tov to bath yourself, it's because for a melacha of bishul, for you to be allowed to do it, it needs to be shaveh lechol nefesh. It has to be an equal necessity to most people. That's called davar shaveh lechol nefesh. So therefore, hands, feet, face, people do that regularly, day in, day out. You get up in the morning, you wash your hands, you wash your face. So it's something which is a common necessity. Showering, at least in the time of the Talmud, in the time of the Mishnah, historically, it wasn't a common necessity. People would shower, bath themselves, people go to bath houses, but they wouldn't do that as frequent as they would wash their hands. So that wouldn't be regarded a necessity which you're allowed to do, cooking or burning fire for that. That's the Tosafot's reason. The Rambam seems to hold it's a rabbinical prohibition, but it's still prohibited. Now, there is an argument in halacha as to whether we can use preheated water which I've heated prior to Yom Tov, so therefore I haven't cooked anything on Yom Tov, and now I want to bath myself. So based on what we said now, shouldn't be a problem. Based on the Rambam, on the Tosafot, it shouldn't be a problem because I'm not involved in any cooking. I've done it already. So therefore this is from Yom Tov, before Yom Tov it's warm, I can shower. So you can already picture in your head many examples of having hot water which was not heated on Yom Tov. So Rabbi Fassi brings in the name of the Geonim that there is no problem in bathing yourself in warm, hot water which was preheated prior to Yom Tov on Yom Tov. Basically, what we're trying to say here is that decree that was on Shabbat not to use preheated water, which we called Gezerat Mehatzaot because of the bath keepers who used to heat on Shabbat, that doesn't apply to Yom Tov. That's what the Al-Fasi, the Rif holds in regards of bathing. And so too the Rambam holds like that, the Tosafot holds like that. So if it's preheated, there's no issue. Rabbeinu Nisim, the Ran, he holds that's limited, that you do it in a form that you're not in a bath. You don't go to a bathhouse. Because if you go to a bathhouse, the decree is still applicable. Meaning, today what we call a walk-in shower or having a shower in a bath, that wouldn't be a problem. To fill a bathtub with preheated water would probably render the problem of Merchatzaot. So therefore, we are talking about showers. According to these opinions, there's no problem in taking a shower on preheated water on Yom Tov. So, Shulchan Aruch holds like that opinion, that if you have preheated water, you're entitled to shower on Yom Tov. Before I go to the second opinion, I want to clarify something which is relevant to the Sephardim. We follow the Shulchan Aruch's view, Maran the Shulchan Aruch, which holds, like the Rif, Al-Fasi, like the Rambam, that one is allowed to use preheated for showering on Yom Tov. However, there is a debate amongst the contemporary opinions whether this which we said of preheated has to be something which was heated prior to Yom Tov, or that refers to even something which was heated on Yom Tov in a permissible manner. For example, I left my boiler on and that heated in the course of Yom Tov and I want to use that. I didn't do anything. I didn't do any action of cooking. We tend to follow the lenient opinions, which if any form that there was no active cooking or heating on Yom Tov of that water, and that water was heated electronically, was heated in any other way, there wouldn't be a problem of using those waters on Yom Tov to shower yourself on Yom Tov. The Ramah, Rav Moshe Isserlich, follows the Rosh, Rabbeinu Asher's opinion. He disagrees, and he holds, just like on Shabbat, there's a decree because of the bath keepers, and you can't bath yourself in warm water on Shabbat. So too on Yom Tov, there's no difference. And therefore, even if it's preheated water, you cannot shower on Yom Tov. And that's the opinion which the Ashkenazim follow generally. There are contemporary opinions which want to say that today it's become Shaveh Lechol Nefesh, and therefore even today you will be able, even Ashkenazim would, but I'm not going into that. Generally, the Ashkenazi view is more stringent, and they hold that you cannot shower even preheated. So for them, it will not help. But for those who follow the Shulchan Aruch, with preheated water or with water which was heated in a permissible manner, then you wouldn't have a problem to shower on Yom Tov. So going back to what we just said and explaining this, so there, again, let's conclude. According to the Sephardim who follow the Shulchan Aruch, preheated or heated in a permissible manner is permissible to shower in. Yeah, Ben Sion Abba Shaul has a question about something which was heated on Shabbat, on Yom Tov, but we tend to follow the lenient opinion in this case. Now, the Ashkenazim are more stringent because they follow the Rosh's opinion. Now, there is a greater issue here which some authorities have overlooked. And let's try and understand what happens exactly when you have boilers in your homes. And that can create an issue. Let me explain. If you have a combi boiler which heats the water as your tap is on, that's problematic. Because as we said now, you can't heat water to bath your whole body on Yom Tov. So what are we talking about? Our hot water tank, which remained hot from before Yom Tov. Now what would happen? As you're showering, as soon as you open the hot water tap, cold water enters the tank. And what happens to that cold water when it enters the tank? It heats to Yad Soledet Bo. So you, by opening the tap, is causing the water which is coming in to get cooked on Yom Tov. Now, the problem wouldn't be such a big problem if you'd actually use those waters. Then we go into Shaveh Lechol Nefesh or not. But our issue here is that those waters are not for your shower. They're only to release your water which is already heated. So now you are cooking water for no necessity on Yom Tov at all. That's what's happening. It would be called grama, but it's not. It's psik reshe, because it happens immediately as you open the hot water tap. It feels and senses, and it already takes in cold water. That's how the system of a tank works. The fact that the boiler will start functioning in a few minutes when it will feel cold, that could be psik reshe begrama. That I'm not so concerned about, because that happens in a delayed process. And you're causing it in a psik reshe. So in order to be able to use our boilers, the way we should do it is a few hours before Yom Tov comes in, or before Shabbat comes in our case, there is, on the actual boiler, there's a thermometer, which you can reduce the temperature of the hot water tank. So you reduce it to 38, 40. And trust me, that's hot. That's warm water. But it's not yad soledet bo. Meaning, when it's not yad soledet bo, you don't transgress the restriction of cooking on Yom Tov. So if new waters will be coming in on the course of Yom Tov, it will only reach 40 degrees. Once it reaches only 40 degrees, that's not yad soledet bo. So you haven't transgressed the restriction of cooking on Yom Tov, on Shabbat. So once you reach it, but you have to do it a couple of hours before Shabbat comes in. So make sure that the temperature in the hot water tank is at that temperature. Because if you do it just before it comes in, then it will remain on a hot. I don't know for how long, but that's best. Do it a few hours before, put it onto 40 degrees. Once you've done that, even if new waters come in, they're not getting cooked. They're not reaching to Yad Soledet Bo. So therefore you can comfortably have a shower on Yom Tov in your shower tubs. That will also help you to be able to use your hot water on Shabbat. Why? Well, not for showering. As we said, on Shabbat you can't shower with warm water. Even lukewarm water you shouldn't use on Shabbat to shower yourself. Only cold water. But you want to wash sometimes dishes, or you want to wash your hands, even if you open the hot water tap by mistake, you won't have a problem, because the hot water which will be coming into the tank will be on less than Yad Soledet Bo. The fact that cold water comes in and eventually the boiler will start working and reheating, that's a process which is happening anyhow, and all you're causing is to happen a little bit quicker. That's called psik resha begrama, and therefore we wouldn't be concerned about that. So that's the way a person should take and use the showers when they have a boiler. If you have a combi boiler, we go back to the problem that you can't heat water on Yom Tov.
It's not in the boiler as well.
Apart from igniting the boiler. As you've also done molid Rabbanan here, but the actual bishul might be deoraita, because it's not, it's tzorech davar she'eno shaveh lechol nefesh. So therefore, if you have a combi boiler, you should refrain from showering with hot water on Yom Tov.